The king stood in the grand hall with his son as two noble women watched from the stairs. At the center, third Princess Sistina Lallard wore an elegant white dress adorned with bows and ribbons. The bearded monarch made his declaration. He was appointing her as Lord of the Fifth Northern Territory. A dark-haired young man in formal attire stood beside the princess. Sistina closed her eyes, taking in the announcement. Court members whispered among themselves about the Fifth Northern Territory, noting it was a remote land with absolutely nothing. One courtier worried that Lady Sistina wouldn't understand what this meant and would fall into despair. But Sistina responded with pure enthusiasm, calling it a wonderful proposal from her father. She declared she'd make sure the Fifth Territory shined brighter than anywhere else, her expression radiating determination. The dark-haired young man smiled at her reaction, while three shocked courtiers stood behind him, completely stunned. Years earlier, 5-year-old Sistina Lara cheerfully greeted her father in a columned hallway with a book in hand. She wanted to read it together with him. The king dismissed her immediately, telling her he was busy and she should read that sort of thing by herself. He reminded her that if she had time to read, she should use it to act in a way befitting a princess. The young girl apologized quietly and accepted his words. Later, 9-year-old Princess Khalifa mentioned that Sistina had been turned down by their father again. 14-year-old Princess Ariel noted that His Majesty still seemed to be avoiding her. Someone commented that Sistina wasn't the child of the official wife. Young Sistina sat alone reading outdoors when someone bumped into her. A young boy approached and asked why she was crying. Her thoughts revealed she felt like her father and everyone treated her like she was in the way. She questioned whether she wasn't supposed to be here, wondering what she should have done. The boy promised he'd stay with the hard-working Sisti. He encouraged her, saying she should do what she wanted to do. He told her that if she kept doing her best, everyone would acknowledge her someday. He smiled and told her not to cry. Back in the present day, Princess Sistina exhaled softly in her ornate bedroom. A voice outside announced it was Kaido. The princess told him to come in. Kaido Avan, her servant, greeted her good morning. She cheerfully returned the greeting, apologizing that she hadn't finished changing yet. Kaido noted this was unusual since she usually had it taken care of. The princess mentioned she'd had a long, nostalgic dream, but when Kaido asked about it, she told him it was a secret. Kaido ran through the day's schedule. Sword training after breakfast, then about 2 hours of geology study after lunch. After that, she'd review the petitions sent to the kingdom. Moving on, Princess Sistina asked if Kaido could make some time at lunch because she wanted to try a new spell. Kaido reminded her they did that yesterday too. The princess protested this wasn't like yesterday. She had 17 other things she wanted to test. Kaido, completely exhausted, asked her to please make it next time. Princess Sistina actively studied many different disciplines, swordsmanship and magic. She loved learning. The truth was she was the third princess, not the child of the queen. That's why her father wouldn't acknowledge her. Her education as a princess was neglected, so she had no other way but to teach herself. At first, it was just about getting those around her to notice. She just wanted her father to acknowledge her. But before she knew it, learning itself started to become fun. Because this world was overflowing with mysteries. Every time she learned something new, she wanted to know even more. The princess spent her days wondering about the world beyond the castle walls, her curiosity growing with each passing moment. Kaido walked beside her through these days of discovery. Back in the present, Kaido sorted through consultation requests from nobles, most of them just chores, work that should have gone to the knights, or the court somehow ended up on their desk. Princess Sistina said it was fine, that finishing it felt better than complaining. Outside, someone noticed the broken water mechanism and sighed, wondering when the repair workers would finally show up. Princess Sistina leaped down dramatically, landing near the waterway. Kaido apologized for startling anyone and asked her to land more gently next time. The man below froze in shock, recognizing the princess immediately. He couldn't believe she'd actually shown up in person. He confirmed the waterway had stopped working a few days ago. He'd asked the knights about it, but they said it couldn't be completely fixed. Princess Sistina declared she'd fix it herself. The man stared at her, confused by the enthusiasm. She approached the ornate water pump with its decorative emblems and got to work, reconfiguring the magic formula and recalibrating the circuitry. Magical energy flowed through technical diagrams as she optimized its efficiency. The man reacted with amazement at how fast she finished. The princess explained she'd updated the magic formula, so the water should flow faster and clearer than before. He thanked her profusely. She told him not to worry about it. It was her pleasure, after all. Kaido watched her look content with helping. Later in the library, Princess Sistina asked Kaido if he was satisfied with life in the royal castle. He said he was content personally. She admitted she felt a little dissatisfied. This place had everything, but it felt so confining. She sat contemplatively by the window, a bird visible outside. She wondered sometimes if she weren't a princess. Maybe she'd be freer. Kaido pointed out she always made time and took on so many things. The princess replied cheerfully that the list of things she wanted to do kept growing every day. Just the other day, she'd joined the knight's monster-slaying mission to test out a new magic tool she'd made. Before that, she'd gone to install a magic device to make it rain in a drought-stricken region and taught people how to grow crops. She explained she'd only shared some knowledge from her experiments. She was glad her research turned out to be useful. Then there was the time she set up golems all over the capital to catch a thief. Sistina reacted with confusion, not remembering much except that Kaido had been with her. Kaido couldn't believe how much the princess helped him. Sistina asked if she'd been a bother, then added that if she could be greedy, she'd be happy if he treated her like he used to. The conversation turned heavier. Kaido responded formally that, of course, he was her butler after all. The small moment showed the constraint they both felt. Sistina asked what if she stopped being a princess. Then she posed a more serious question. If she said she wanted to go somewhere far away, would Kaido come with her? Kaido considered the question. He explained his position was that of a butler serving the royal family. Wouldn't that depend on the order? Sistina smiled, admitting it was a mean question for someone as earnest as him. She agreed he was right. Later, Kaido watched the princess buried in yet another grimoire. Same as always. That night, nobles gathered in an ornate bedroom to discuss her. They'd been piling work on the princess to keep her out of their business, but she kept solving problems they'd deliberately left unresolved. One noble demanded they do something about her. Another admitted, reluctantly, that she really was a genius. The conversation turned serious. This could affect the royal succession. More people in the capital were supporting her now. The queen reflected on how much her daughter had grown. Even the difficult tasks they prepared were easily handled by Lady Sistina, which only boosted her popularity. The exact opposite of what they wanted. The discussion turned darker. Perhaps they should carry out that plan. Perhaps they should just confine her somewhere. Another voice argued that was impossible, even for royal blood. However, the concern remained about a girl with such lowly blood becoming the next monarch. The nobles confirmed there was no problem. His Majesty also wished to keep Lady Sistina at a distance. One noble declared he'd inform His Majesty himself. Later, the king sat on his throne and made his pronouncement. The northern Fifth Territory still had vast lands left untouched, too great a place to leave abandoned. Therefore, he appointed Sistina Larat as Lord of the Fifth Northern Territory. Princess Sistina stood before the throne, receiving this declaration. Princess Sistina's eyes closed for a moment. Then she responded with determination. Leave it to her? The nobles reacted with shock, pointing out this was exile from the royal capital. They questioned if she'd lost her mind. They taunted her about putting on a brave face. What could she possibly accomplish in a place like that? She'd just come back crying, having done nothing. Sistina responded firmly that she'd said it. It was the truth. Kaido observed this exchange, thinking to himself that she'd made the wrong choice, at least in their eyes. Princess Sistina made her dramatic declaration, saying she couldn't do it was taboo. Then she'd show them the Fifth Territory with her own hands. She'd turn it into a grand city to rival the royal capital itself. The nobles reacted with shock, then laughter. Kaido observed with a smile. That was their princess. Later, Princess Sistina stood in her formal traveling attire, excited about what her new land would be like. Somewhere in the palace, someone reflected on wanting to at least say goodbye. Then Princess Sistina noticed luggage near the carriage. Kaido stood there in his butler uniform, telling her he'd been waiting. When she asked about the baggage, he explained the obvious. He was coming with her. The princess thought her father would have ordered him to serve someone else. Kaido confirmed that was the case. Kaido had made his position clear to the king. He'd stated with all due respect that he was Lady Sistina's personal butler. If the princess set out for a new land, he'd accompany her. The king noted that from now on, Kaido would probably be serving someone else, asking if he understood what that meant. Kaido declared he was prepared. The king gave his permission. Kaido could do as he pleased. Kaido explained to Princess Sistina that he'd received permission to accompany her. The princess couldn't believe someone as serious as him actually made that kind of request to her father. She asked if it was all right. He wouldn't be able to come back anymore. Kaido made his declaration to the princess. Now, in the past, and from here on, he was her butler. Naturally, Princess Sistina's face lit up with emotion and joy. She knew he'd say that. The carriage began its journey toward the northern Fifth Territory, traveling through the countryside. After some time, they arrived at the northern Fifth Territory. The landscape stretched before them, desolate and barren. Kaido stepped out, noting there was nothing here. It was worse than he'd heard. Kaido stated that was fine. Princess Sistina stepped out into the barren land and threw her arms wide with enthusiasm. She declared that ahead of them, there was nothing but possibility. Princess Sistina figured if there's nothing here, she'd just build it herself. The empty territory actually worked in her favor. Back in the royal capital, she couldn't run dangerous experiments with everyone watching. But out here, she could try whatever she wanted without interference. Kaido watched his princess with a knowing look. She asked if he regretted coming along. He smiled and told her no way. She asked him to keep supporting her as her butler, and he agreed. They'd begin from here. Later, they made their vow together. Their frontier reform for two was starting now. The Northern Fifth Territory had major problems. Development never progressed. Monsters roamed the forest freely, and the settlement sat abandoned and run down. The territory had a terrible reputation. Several lords had been assigned here over the years, but most returned it to the kingdom in less than 6 months. The main manor was a disaster. Kaido inspected the building and confirmed it had been completely neglected since the previous lord gave up. He turned to Princess Sistina and asked what came next. When he called her Lady Sistina, the princess got excited. He was actually using Sisti now. She asked what they should do first, and before Kaido could suggest anything, she beat him to it. Cleaning. The interior hall stretched before them, covered in dust and neglect. Princess Sistina decided to handle this her way. She called upon the spirit of water, and a magic circle formed beneath her feet. Magical water flowed through the entire building, cleaning everything in its path. After that, Kaido worked on the remaining areas, while noting the building was in worse shape than he thought. Princess Sistina joined in to help. When he pointed out that technically he should be doing this alone, she asked if he really thought she'd just sit around and watch. While cleaning, Kaido felt like someone had been watching them. Princess Sistina noticed it too and suggested they check for themselves. They headed out to investigate, walking through the halls together. Something attacked suddenly from the shadows. Kaido instantly moved to protect Princess Sistina, catching her as a creature struck at them. He told her more were coming. She needed to keep her distance. She insisted she'd heal his wounds as more threats emerged. They fought through the manor under serious attack. Kaido wanted to get outside. He couldn't use magic strong enough without destroying the building, but he needed more space to fight properly. During the chaos, Princess Sistina lost her footing as dark creatures closed in from all sides. They made it outside, where a pack of wolf-type monsters surrounded them completely. Princess Sistina realized they'd been living in the abandoned mansion. Kaido identified them as low-level monsters. Wolf monsters were ferocious creatures that attacked both people and animals. Even low-rank wolves became a serious threat when they formed a pack, capable of wiping out entire towns. Princess Sistina observed that from the wolves' perspective, she and Kaido were the trespassers. Kaido told her he'd handle it, but she stopped him. Princess Sistina had an idea. She told Kaido not to use his sword unless they absolutely had to. That was the exception for when the wolves tried to kill them. He confirmed he understood and awaited her command. She ordered Kaido to gather the wolves in one place as quickly as possible. He moved into action, herding them together with precise movements. Once he successfully corralled them all, she praised him. Perfect as expected. A magic circle formed beneath the gathered wolves. The wolves became immobilized. Princess Sistina declared they couldn't move now. When Kaido asked if they should take them all down at once, she decided they'd keep the wolves here instead. She pointed out they needed help with cleaning anyway. Kaido protested that getting along with monsters was impossible. They harmed people and animals. Princess Sistina reminded him that monsters were living beings too. He insisted there was no way they could ever get along with these creatures. She teased him, pointing out he'd just said he couldn't do it. The conversation shifted to how monsters came to be. Princess Sistina asked if he knew. Kaido admitted researchers were still searching for the answer. Then the question came up, why did wolf-type monsters look so much like actual wolves? He mentioned he'd come up with one theory. Monsters were originally animals. He explained that wolves were hierarchical creatures where the strong stood at the top. Sometimes they even came to respect another monster as their boss. Princess Sistina declared she'd just have to show them she was the boss. Kaido warned her not to get too close, then realized what she was doing. Princess Sistina approached the lead wolf. She told them she understood The princess apologizes but explains they need this mansion. The wolves begin reacting to her presence and words. Princess Sistina stands surrounded by the wolf pack. The creatures calm down and submit to her authority. Princess Sistina reaches out to the lead wolf, asking if it will give her its trust. The wolves respond to her presence and authority. In an instant, the wolves become docile. Kaido continues explaining that monsters might have originally been animals. The difference between animals and monsters lies in the flow of magic power. Animals have stable magic while monsters are unstable and violent. Princess Sistina questions why monsters were born in the first place. The scene shows the wolves now calm around her. The princess wonders if there's a reason for their transformation. Princess Sistina gently strokes the lead wolf's head. The creature remains calm under her touch, showing the bond forming between them. The entire wolf pack sits obediently. Kaido reacts in shock, asking what she did. The princess explains she thought their rampage was because their magic was in turmoil, so she adjusted the flow of their magic. She reassures them she won't throw them out and suggests living together. Kaido protests in disbelief. Princess Sistina stands surrounded by the now tamed wolves, all of them happy. Kaido reflects on how a single princess has unraveled the ecology of monsters, something shrouded in mystery for years. He marvels at how she even managed to tame these creatures when he's never heard of such a thing. Her knowledge of monsters, magical control, and creativity leave him thinking what an incredible person she is, exactly as expected of Her Highness. Princess Sistina energetically declares they'll continue the big cleanup together. The cleaning work begins with Princess and the wolves working through the mansion. Kaido directs some wolves to take care of one side. An exterior shot shows the mansion from outside. Inside the now clean mansion, Kaido notes they somehow managed to finish. Princess Sistina thanks everyone for their great work. One wolf comments that it's because Sisti became the boss, and another mentions how the wolves warmed up to Kaido right away too. Kaido observes what an unbelievable sight this is. The princess notes it's nighttime now and she'd like to prepare dinner, but they don't have any ingredients. Kaido suggests they'll have to make do with what they can find there. The lead wolf declares it won't eat and needs to make sure there's enough for everyone. Kaido observes by the window that they've become quite a big family, wishing there were a town nearby. Garden boxes overflow with plants. Kaido notices something outside and asks if he should go take a look. Princess Sistina decides to leave gathering food to the wolves. A wolf barks and alerts to something outside among the plants visible through the window. Kaido reacts in shock as something crashes or bursts in. A large wolf stands over a dirty, disheveled young boy on the ground. Kaido identifies him as a child. Princess Sistina finds him cute and commands the wolf to let him go. Kaido observes it looks like there are kids or people living around here. The princess calls out to the frightened boy. The boy panics, shouting that they need to run away before they get eaten. Kaido tries to calm everyone down, attempting to stop the chaos. The lead wolf declares the boy is a minion of the Demon King. Kaido protests, insisting they're humans and to look closer. The boy reacts in shock, pointing out that Princess Sistina is getting along with monsters, so it has to be a lie. One wolf observes that Kaido is in trouble. Princess Sistina questions whose fault the wolf thinks that situation is. Princess Sistina formally introduces herself again as Sistina, the new ruler of this land. The boy addresses her as his lord. She explains that yes, these children are monsters, but they're not scary. The boy questions if it's not because she's a demon lord. Princess Sistina clarifies that being friends with monsters is unusual, but still reassures him these ones are safe. She warns that other monsters are scary, and he should never go near any besides these ones. The princess finds the boy cute and smiles warmly. Princess Sistina demonstrates her abilities with a spectacular display of magic. A magical circle appears above as she creates ice flowers through sorcery. She declares that she is a sorcerer. The boy watches in complete amazement from below. The boy marvels at the cold flower she created, asking if she likes it. He excitedly calls her the Mage Lord. Princess Sistina notices the flower grew bigger than she expected. The boy mentions there's a village nearby. Princess Sistina asks for his name. He introduces himself as Shun and confirms he lives around the area. Princess Sistina asks Shun if he could show them around the village, explaining she'd like to greet everyone as the Lord. Shun agrees readily. The princess instructs two wolves to stay at the mansion and watch the place. The group heads out, walking through the forest toward the village. The village comes into view, a farming settlement with small houses, crop fields, and people working the land. Princess Sistina observes the area. Shun runs home calling for his mom. His mother scolds him, demanding to know where he's been. Shun apologizes and excitedly tells her he met the Lord. Princess Sistina greets Shun's mother politely in the evening, requesting to meet the village chief. The mother agrees to arrange it right away. Moving on, Princess Sistina and Kaido wait inside. Kaido mentions something feels off about this area. The princess confirms she senses it too, noting that when she made the ice flower earlier, her magic control wavered a little. She didn't notice it when she stopped the wolf, but something is definitely strange here. Kaido wonders what in the world could be causing this effect. Princess Sistina admits she doesn't know yet. Later, the village chief arrives, an elderly bearded man accompanied by other villagers. He introduces himself as the village chief. Princess Sistina formally introduces herself as Sistina Lalat, the new lord of the territory, apologizing for bothering them so late at night. Princess Sistina expresses her enthusiasm about working with everyone and creating more opportunities for the villagers to participate in domain matters. The villagers recognize her as a member of the royal Laylart family. However, the village chief makes a direct request. He asks her to leave them out of it. The village chief explains they don't trust lords or nobles. Princess Sistina asks why. The chief shows them the village fields, explaining this land has been their home for generations. For the past several years, even when it rains, their crops barely grow anymore. The village chief continues revealing the painful history. Both the previous lord and the one before him knew about their suffering, but ignored it completely. No matter how many times the villagers begged for aid, the lords turned away in silence. The chief tells Princess Sistina that she wouldn't understand, having been raised in comfort. The villagers work desperately just to survive. Princess Sistina agrees with the chief's assessment, admitting she's very fortunate. Behind that admission, memories surface of her own painful past. Episodes of loneliness, rejection, and isolation within the royal castle. Kaido watches with a serious expression. Despite acknowledging her privileged background, Princess Sistina passionately declares she still wants to get along with everyone. She tells the chief she understands how they all feel and that their anger is justified. She stands among the villagers, including young Shun and his mother. Princess Sistina explains that since everyone is suffering, she wants to find a way to help. As the new lord, she wants to do what she can since they're all living in the same domain. The village chief responds that there was once a lord who made similar promises, a court magician with exceptional talent who ultimately couldn't manage the problem either. Princess Sistina asks if there's something unusual about the land itself. The village chief begins to confirm, but Princess Sistina cuts in, pointing out that he said the previous magician couldn't do it right now, meaning maybe it wasn't impossible forever. She respectfully notes that the chief is in the same position, unable to do anything about it anyway. Kaido and Princess Sistina together declare they'll take away all the worries the villagers are carrying. The village chief looks up in complete surprise at her confident declaration. Princess Sistina explains she wasn't just sleeping away in the royal castle. She can do all sorts of things. The village chief and villagers question what a castle-raised princess could possibly accomplish. Shun excitedly jumps in, confirming he saw her abilities. Someone asks if it's because she's a sorceress, and the village chief reacts with confusion and surprise. Princess Sistina makes her final declaration with a confident smile. As both princess and lord, she promises to save their village. She asks them to please get along with her once the problem is finally solved. The gathered villagers, including the chief, Shun, his mother, and others, listen to her determined pledge. The village chief acknowledges that Princess Sistina never gives up. Princess Sistina passionately explains her background. She's learned from the royal magic family and gained extensive knowledge, hardening herself through various regional experiences. She's shared what she's learned, worked with crops, and become more capable than even the prestigious magic families. Kaido listens as she makes her case to the gathered villagers. The village chief responds to Princess Sistina's declaration with his own terms. He tells her to show results within 2 weeks. They clasp hands on the agreement. Princess Sistina confirms she understands the condition. The chief adds the consequence. If she fails, she'll have to leave this land. Princess Sistina accepts the challenge with complete confidence, declaring, "There's no problem." She tells Kaido they're going to do this together. Kaido acknowledges things are going to get busy. The two stand ready to tackle their first task as lord and servant of the territory. Shun guides Princess Sistina and Kaido through the village as they inspect the domain. He brings them to the largest field in the village, a barren, lifeless stretch of land surrounded by wooden fences. Princess Sistina thanks Shun for showing them around. Princess Sistina examines the field, noting there's water present in the ground. Kaido recaps what the village chief explained. Despite rainfall over the past few years, crops haven't been growing well. Princess Sistina observes that the problem isn't constant. Kaido elaborates that there's no set cycle, but rather the periods when nothing grows have gradually increased throughout the year. Princess Sistina mentions she notices something off about this place too, just like she felt yesterday. Kaido admits he doesn't sense anything strange himself. Princess Sistina reveals magic is flowing through the entire area. Kaido reacts with surprise, questioning if magic in the land is even possible. Princess Sistina asks if he's ever heard of dragon veins. Kaido admits it's his first time hearing about it. Princess Sistina explains what dragon veins are. Magic is the source of life, flowing through the earth that nurtures all living things. That's the dragon vein. She clarifies that normally people can't feel it, and it doesn't affect the surface or living beings, but occasionally it can have an influence. Kaido asks if that's the cause of the crop failures. Princess Sistina confirms the connection, explaining that the difference in their magic levels means she can sense the dragon vein while Kaido can't. She recalls how her magic had a stronger effect than expected when demonstrated yesterday. Kaido remembers the ice flower incident where he lost some control but didn't notice anything strange at the time. Princess Sistina elaborates that magic power is the force of life itself. That's why the crops are affected. The abnormalities in plant growth are also causing monsters to breed out of control. Kaido questions why the surrounding forest is so dense and thriving if the dragon vein causes problems. Princess Sistina explains it comes down to compatibility and duration. Magic has its own nature and affinities. The trees here are probably species that adapted over time to this environment. Princess Sistina concludes that only plants adapted to this land's dragon veins will grow properly. Kaido realizes the court magician failed without noticing this issue. Princess Sistina suggests maybe he did notice but couldn't do anything about the dragon veins and gave up. Either way, ordinary methods won't allow crops to grow here. Kaido considers whether this problem can even be fixed. Princess Sistina states plainly that it can't be done with conventional approaches. She voices the grim reality. They'll have no choice but to abandon this land and move elsewhere. Princess Sistina reflects on the weight of that decision. This is the land the villagers' ancestors worked hard to cultivate for generations. As their lord, she shouldn't be the one telling them to abandon that place. Her determination returns as she declares they'll get started right away. If they've found the cause, they can deal with it. Princess Sistina starts organizing the work. Kaido asks what he should do. She tells him to cut down a big tree. Just pick one that's grown well. Shun excitedly volunteers to help too. Princess Sistina gives another task: gather vegetable seeds and the crops harvested in the village. Shun agrees to ask the village chief. The work begins with Kaido chopping down the selected tree and processing the logs. Princess Sistina declares they'll till the field first. The entire village mobilizes. Adults and children work together, breaking up the soil, preparing the land for planting. The collaborative effort transforms the barren field. Kaido questions what the tree will be used for. Princess Sistina explains the tree has elements that can adapt to the dragon vein. She'll extract them with alchemy and mix them into crop seeds. She states she'll use it as material. A diagram illustrates the extraction process. Kaido comments that it's quite a forceful way of breeding. Princess Sistina gets to work, kneeling to perform the alchemical extraction on the prepared materials. Princess Sistina unleashes powerful magic. The alchemical process begins with intense energy. Rocks float in the air, magical forces swirl around her. Glowing orbs of light manifest as she manipulates the tree's essence. Her hair flows dramatically. With the surge of power, the transformation proceeds with brilliant magical effects lighting up the area. The process succeeds. Princess Sistina holds up several small potted plants with growing seedlings, declaring it worked. The village chief and Kaido look on with amazement. She explains that since time is short, she'll regularly use magic to speed up growth and check on the plants. She tells them to help her plant everything. Princess Sistina says they'll start growing it right away. Kaito and Shun respond enthusiastically and get to work planting in the field. The village comes together for the planting. Kaido works alongside the villagers under the trees. Princess Sistina watches the collaborative effort, her expression thoughtful. The villagers discuss among themselves that they should do something too. Princess Sistina observes the community working together on her land. The entire village participates in the farming effort. Adults and children plant together. Dogs roam the field. Everyone contributes to tending the soil. Princess Sistina walks through the field, observing and participating in the work her people are doing. Days pass, and the field shows results. The crops are sprouting. Village chief and other villagers celebrate with excitement. The plants are actually growing. Princess Sistina and Kaido observe the progress. The village chief marvels that Princess Sistina is an incredible person. Another villager comments it only took 10 days to get this far. Princess Sistina examines the field more closely, her expression growing concerned. Princess Sistina reveals a problem. The growth is slower than she expected. At this rate, the crops won't bear fruit. The village chief reacts with shock. Kaido takes notes on the situation. Princess Sistina assures him she's fine. She declares that from here on, it's the final touch. The village chief asks about dragon veins. What they are. Princess Sistina presents a device, explaining it controls the energy of the dragon vein. Kaido reacts with surprise at the strange mechanism. The chief wonders if things will improve using that device and notes such a thing actually exists. Princess Sistina elaborates. This land lies along a dragon vein, and its flow changes irregularly. The unstable magical energy has been negatively affecting the growth of delicate vegetables and grains. It's still hindering growth even now. She tells them to watch closely as she activates the device. Princess Sistina activates the dragon vein control device. The effect is immediate and explosive. Magical energy surges through the field as plants burst into rapid growth. Flowers bloom in seconds, their petals unfurling with brilliant light. Crops shoot up from the soil, transforming the field into a flourishing garden right before everyone's eyes. The village chief, Kaido, and the gathered villagers watch in amazement as nature responds to her power. The transformation completes. The entire field is now covered in healthy, thriving crops. Flowers bloom in abundance, and fruit begins forming on the plants. The alchemically enhanced seeds combined with the controlled dragon vein energy have created perfect growing conditions. What would normally take months has happened in moments. The village chief reacts with pure excitement, celebrating that the crops actually grew. Shun and the other villagers share in the jubilation. Princess Sistina tempers their celebration with a note of caution. Since there's no precedent, and this is the first device she's ever made, she can't predict what effects it might have going forward. The village chief asks what she means by effects. Princess Sistina explains that by controlling the dragon vein's influence, she's uncertain what kind of changes might occur. The village chief kneels before her, understanding the situation. He tells her that's why he has a favor to ask. Princess Sistina requests permission to investigate what changes the device will cause. Kaido stands beside her, declaring they'll give it their all to protect everyone's way of life. The villagers respond with enthusiasm. They'll help out however they can. Shun eagerly volunteers to keep helping too. The village shows its full support for Princess Sistina's work. The village chief tells Princess Sistina that everyone already agrees to her request. He adds that, as the chief, he can't be the only one who doesn't, can he? Princess Sistina accepts gracefully, noting that if it's come to this, she can't refuse. The village chief formally addresses her as his lord. They clasp hands in agreement. Princess Sistina thanks him sincerely. Princess Sistina stands triumphantly before the flourishing crops, her resolve clear. She declares she'll definitely live up to their expectations. As their lord, she'll bring smiles to everyone. The successful harvest spreads before her, while Kaido and the village chief look on with confidence in her leadership. Moving forward, the village holds a grand feast to celebrate the successful harvest. The entire community gathers around a large table overflowing with dishes prepared from the newly grown crops. Adults and children eat together in a joyous atmosphere. Kaido serves the food, telling everyone to enjoy their meal. The celebration marks the beginning of the territory's prosperity. The villagers marvel at the quality of the food. Shun exclaims how tasty everything is. A village woman comments in disbelief that they're using the same ingredients they've always had. The flavor is completely different. Kaido asks if anyone would share the recipe with him. The villagers are thrilled they can eat like this again. The village chief thanks Princess Sistina for hosting such a wonderful gathering. He acknowledges it may not be fit for royalty, but it's their way of showing gratitude. Princess Sistina insists she genuinely likes it. The celebration continues into the night. The villagers bond together, their happiness overflowing as they share food and drink. Away from the main gathering, Kaido and Princess Sistina step outside together. Kaido asks if she's enjoying herself. Princess Sistina admits she talked a bit too much. Kaido asks if she's done now. Kaido observes the village buildings in the peaceful night, commenting on what a lovely village it is. He notes that everyone clearly lived here helping each other. The community supported one another. Princess Sistina looks out at her territory. Kaido's expression grows more serious. He asks if it was all right not to tell them everything. Princess Sistina stands quietly, her back to him. Princess Sistina stands with her back to Kaido, claiming she has no idea what he's talking about. Kaido tells her she doesn't need to play dumb in front of him. He explains the device is a magic tool. A magic device won't function unless it's supplied with mana. The dragon vein's mana can't be used without control, which is why Princess Sistina will handle the mana replenishment herself. Princess Sistina tries to downplay the situation, agreeing it's just another task to add to her morning routine. Kaido insists it's not something so simple. Princess Sistina continues that it's not that difficult either, at least compared to the troubles people in the village have carried so far. It's nothing. Kaido presses further, noting she'll probably have to tell them someday, and this is probably to keep the villagers from worrying or feeling guilty. Princess Sistina acknowledges this, asking him to keep it a secret until they get the results. Princess Sistina admits her magic power isn't as great as Sistine's. Kaido expresses his wish that he could take her place. Princess Sistina asks him to help her in other ways instead. Princess Sistina energetically declares they'll support this land together. Kaido agrees. Moving forward, Princess Sistina performs her morning routine at the magic device. She finishes her work, confirming that should do it. In the background, the villagers continue their daily farming activities, and the crops continue thriving. Kaido helps with the farm work, stretching and exercising in the fields. The villagers thank him, noting the work goes much faster with his help. Kaido replies it's good exercise for him too. A villager asks if he can join in. Two other villagers greet them with morning wishes. Kaido insists the princess needs to rest instead. Princess Sistina protests she just woke up a moment ago. Kaido maintains that rest is most important for recovering magic power. Princess Sistina notes that's not what she meant, finding him to be such a worrier, though it makes her a little happy. She observes that at least the crops are growing now. Princess Sistina mentions at this rate they might even be able to expand the fields in the future. The villagers agree, suggesting they could maybe increase the variety too. A villager states he doesn't think they can go any further. Princess Sistina asks, why? There's plenty of land to spare. Kaido explains they have land, but this is as far as they can expand. If they expand any further, they'll be encroaching on their territory. Princess Sistina asks who. The villagers look concerned as Kaido prepares to explain. Kaido reveals they're demi-humans. In this area, various demi-human races have each formed their own settlements. Princess Sistina and Kaido review the information, with maps and documents showing the territorial situation. Kaido continues explaining, Demi-humans are races different from humans, with their own habits, customs, and ways of thinking. How to deal with them has been a problem even in the kingdom, and there have been several conflicts in the past. Princess Sistina confirms it's not just one race. Kaido states there are multiple species all concentrated in this territory. Even coexistence between demi-human races is said to be impossible. Princess Sistina realizes the previous lord didn't give up the territory just because of the environment. The demi-human situation was a major factor. Kaido explains they've been maintaining complete non-interference with each other. The villager with the cap confirms that as long as they don't approach the demi-humans don't do anything either. Princess Sistina finds this reassuring. Later, as they stand outside near the village, Kaido expresses his hope that nothing really happens. He recalls that some of the demi-human races are rather aggressive. The policy of non-interference weighs on his mind as Princess Sistina looks away thoughtfully. Princess Sistina gazes toward the forest that borders their territory. The dense woodland stretches out before them, thick with trees and vegetation. Deep within the forest, various demi-human figures lurk in the shadows, their glowing eyes watching from the darkness. Multiple races occupy the forest, each with their own distinct features. The tension of their proximity to the human settlement hangs in the air as the different groups maintain their separate territories within the woods. Time passes, and the villagers reflect on recent events. One villager admits he still can't believe it. The monsters were like ordinary pets. Another agrees they were just trying to survive too. Kaido and Princess Sistina stand with the group as someone addresses her respectfully. A cat-eared beastman stands with the group, including Shun and the large creatures. The beastman advises that as long as you face people honestly, you can get along with anyone. Later, the villagers gather together. Princess Sistina declares this is just the beginning. The villagers express their gratitude, noting that thanks to her, the village has brightened up and is steadily regaining its vitality. Kaido observes that if things keep going like this, before long something significant will happen. Princess Sistina and Kaido stand together formally near the forest edge. Moving on, young Shun encounters the wolf creatures in the forest. He notices something wrong with them as they make distressed sounds. Suddenly, beastfolk warriors attack. A leopard-spotted warrior, a wolf swordsman, and a cat fighter charge forward. The attacker commands the group to strike. The villagers react in shock, recognizing them as beastmen. The situation escalates as the children are nearby. Villagers shouted warnings to protect the children and called out to watch for danger. The leopard beastmen stopped, caught off guard. Princess Sistina cast magic, creating an invisible wall barrier. The cat beastmen observed the magical protection with recognition. Kaido told them that was enough. Princess Sistina asked if they would mind putting away anything scary, noting the children were watching. Princess Sistina corrected them. The creatures weren't enemies. They were allies. The wolf beastmen told the humans to stay out of this, declaring that mutt was their precious food supply. The cat-eared female questioned the concept of allies. She thought to herself about how barbaric humans were, even using monsters now. Kaido sensed the obvious hostility and wondered what they should do. The beastmen declared the law of the jungle ruled all. Power was proof of existence. Princess Sistina asked if it was true the feline beastfolk valued strength above all. Princess Sistina responded, understanding the situation. She prepared to demonstrate her power, floating into the air as a massive magic circle formed beneath her. Magical energy swirled dramatically around her. The beastfolk warriors reacted in shock to the overwhelming magical force pressing down on them. Kaido recognized it as gravity manipulation magic. The leopard beastmen struggled under the pressure. The beastfolk instinctively realized the vast difference in power. Princess Sistina made her demand clear. They needed to hear her out since they couldn't beat her anyway. With her power proven, she stood there confident as hell. Later, they arrived at the Beastmen village. The place was actually pretty impressive. Structures built right into the trees, integrated with the forest canopy. Sistina, Kaido, and a few beastmen, including the cat girl, walked through together, heading deeper into the settlement. Inside, a woman named Ixa greeted them. She was the clan chief, and she pointed out this was the first time a human had ever come here. Sistina introduced herself formally. Sistina Lalart, the newly appointed lord of the territory. Ixa picked up on something immediately and asked if Sistina was royalty. The princess confirmed it. Kaido stood nearby, thinking about how he'd heard the beastfolk were supposed to be warlike and brutal to outsiders. He stayed ready to protect Sistina if things went south. Ixa cut straight to it. What the hell did Sistina come here for? The princess explained she wanted to offer greetings and make a request. Specifically, she wanted them to stop messing with the village since the people there hadn't done anything wrong. Ixa admitted some of the young ones had gotten out of hand and said she'd tell them off. Then she asked if Sistina thought she was planning to declare war or something. Sistina noted how easily Ixa admitted to everything. The chief apologized but said they were perfectly satisfied with how things were. Then she added that one of theirs got hit, so Sistina would have to make up for that. Sistina called her out directly. That was a lie. She'd already figured Ixa would pull something like that. Ixa questioned what she just said. Sistina made her observation. Ixa wanted change. When the chief asked why she thought that, Sistina explained she could tell just by looking into her eyes. They looked bored as hell. That made Ixa burst out laughing. She pointed out that even her own kind shrank before her. Yet here was Sistina boldly stepping into their territory without any hesitation. Ixa declared she liked the princess even more now. Sistina stated she wasn't afraid, because she was stronger. Then Ixa moved in close, holding Sistina, and made her proposal. Be my mate. Kaido froze, processing what he just heard. Ixa clarified she was telling Sistina to be her woman. The princess asked if she meant partner, making sure she understood correctly. Ixa explained that having the courage to stand against her without backing down meant Sistina was worthy to stand at her side. When Sistina pointed out she was human, Ixa dismissed it. Race was a trivial difference. She added that once they were mated, she wouldn't have anything more to do with Sistina's village. Sistina confirmed she could refuse, right? The cat beast woman chimed in, reminding them that Ixa had told the princess she'd have to make compensation. Ixa asked if Sistina really thought she had the right to refuse. Ixa proposes they find out who's stronger between them. The clan chief explains Beastmen society is survival of the fittest. It makes things simple. The terms are set. Ixa grins, declaring if she wins, she'll take Princess Sistina. The princess responds confidently. If she wins, Ixa will grant her request. The two prepare to face off. Their stance is ready. Ixa accepts the challenge. Suddenly, Kaido calls out, asking the princess to wait. Princess Sistina turns toward him. Kaido steps forward, announcing he'll take on that role. Ixa considers this briefly, then agrees. She can go all out when it's a guy. Kaido asks what her name is. The clan chief gives her name. Kaido notes it's a good name. Then, Ixa warns him not to regret this, even if he dies. Princess Sistina signals the start. The battle begins. Immediately as Kaido and Ixa clash with their weapons, engaging in fierce combat. The fight intensifies as Ixa launches a powerful attack against Kaido. The combat continues with rapid exchanges. Ixa comments that Kaido's performance is not bad. The princess observes from the sidelines. The beastman's strength and speed are clearly superior. Ixa demands to know what Kaido is to Princess Sistina. Kaido responds he's her butler. Ixa challenges this, questioning if that's really all. The combat rages on with both fighters pushing hard. Kaido recognizes that while the beastmen have superior physical abilities, he and the princess have superior skills. Ixa reads into Kaido's eyes, declaring she can tell by looking at them. He doesn't want her to take that woman from him. Kaido questions if she's oblivious. The clan chief presses further, insisting that woman is his. Kaido clarifies his position. His instincts are screaming that he's stronger, though it's not about logic. As her butler, he wields his sword to protect her. Ixa lands a devastating strike against Kaido. The impact is massive. Princess Sistina calls out his name in alarm. Ixa declares, this is a battle between a man and woman. Race doesn't matter. The fight continues with brutal intensity. The clan chief taunts Kaido, asking if he really thinks he can fight her. Kaido struggles, his consciousness fading. Princess Sistina calls out to him again. Princess Sistina stands with Kaido defeated on the ground. She looks at him with determination, telling him she believes in him. Princess Sistina watches with determination as Kaido clenches his fist. The battle reaches its climax as Ixa launches her final attack, leaping through the air with devastating force aimed directly at him. Ixa's strike connects and Kaido goes flying, crashing hard to the ground. He coughs from the impact, struggling as he looks up at his opponent standing above him. Princess Sistina calls out Kaido's name in alarm. The final moments play out as Kaido's fist drives forward in one last desperate strike toward Ixa. Ixa questions what Princess Sistina means. The princess responds calmly. They don't want to fight, do they? Kaido confirms this. The Beastmen warriors shout orders to kill the humans and protect their chief. Princess Sistina calls for everyone to stop. Ixa admits that if Kaido hadn't stopped his fist, she would have died. The clan chief acknowledges her defeat. Kaido stands there with a serious expression. Ixa asks what Princess Sistina wants from them, if it's about not touching the village. The princess clarifies that she actually wants their help. Princess Sistina proposes they work together to make this territory an even better place. The beastmen react with confusion. Princess Sistina explains her vision. She wants to create a place where all races in this land can live happily and with smiles, because race doesn't matter. Ixa points out their beastmen. Ixa declares there's no way she can make that happen with all races. Kaido points out she just said she can't do it. Princess Sistina responds with enthusiasm. She'll prove it to them. She'll make this territory a richer city than the royal capital. Ixa laughs loudly at this declaration. The clan chief comments that Princess Sistina is a big deal, as expected. Ixa accepts the challenge. She'll take a bite of this proposal. Princess Sistina tells her she's counting on her. The three stand together as new comrades. Moving on, back at the village, the chief and villagers stare nervously at the group's arrival. The village chief points out these are the beastmen from the neighboring village. The villagers acknowledge they can see that much. The chief nervously asks Princess Sistina about these people. Princess Sistina asks the chief to confirm they won't harm any of the villagers anymore, right? Ixa confirms that's the promise. The clan chief gets defensive when questioned further, snapping that they ask too many questions. An elderly woman worries about what the promise actually means. Kaido tells Ixa not to intimidate the villagers. Ixa insists she didn't mean it that way and apologizes. The village chief looks exasperated as Princess Sistina offers to explain the situation from her perspective. A villager asks if this means the beastmen will cooperate with their village. The other villagers stand there confused, trying to process what this arrangement actually means. In the next scene, Ixa tells them they've agreed to get along, and whatever they'll do, they should ask the boss over there. Kaido responds surprised. Boss, him? The Beastmen warriors stand together as a group. A character observes the Beastmen hierarchy. One of the warriors points out that Princess Sistina is the top here, right? Another adds that then she's their boss too. The observer notes this is how Beastmen society works. A clear hierarchy. Princess Sistina asks what everyone wants. Ixa says first they should confirm, asking what they should do in the end. The clan chief adds they need to figure out what this territory lacks. Ixa gestures while talking with the village chief, who appears to be considering the question. The clan chief explains it's food after all, showing silhouettes of various animals. Ixa emphasizes especially meat. The village chief agrees. Indeed, they are always short on meat and fish. Kaido adds they can grow vegetables, but they need to hunt for meat. Ixa declares enthusiastically that beastmen are carnivores who barely eat vegetables. The clan chief shows a statistical comparison. Their consumption is 3 times that of humans. The young beastman child stands with the group as they discuss their dietary needs. Kaido explains that animals aren't like vegetables. Once they grow, they don't bear fruit every year. He warns that if they hunt them all, the animals will disappear. Princess Sistina listens, thoughtfully, processing this challenge. Princess Sistina's expression lights up with determination. She declares then she'll just make it, a new kind of meat where no one would have to suffer. Ixa looks completely confused, asking what the princess is talking about. Make meat? Princess Sistina presents her idea through diagrams. What if they could harvest meat from a single animal multiple times? What if they could duplicate the harvested meat? The group of villagers and beastmen start chattering in confusion, unable to comprehend what Princess Sistina is proposing. Someone calls out to Ixa. The clan chief responds. Then Ixa speaks up. Where would they find an animal like that? That's impossible. A shadowed figure notes that if she says she can do it, then it's possible. Kaido states confidently that Her Highness never speaks of impossibilities. Princess Sistina declares there's no such thing as impossible. She'll find them, no matter what. She asks Ixa if she's going to help. Ixa demands to know if the princess is serious. Princess Sistina smiles brightly, talking about a way for everyone to smile. Kaido reminds Ixa, wasn't that the rule of the beastmen? The loser obeys the winner. Ixa's expression becomes serious and accepting, the clan chief acknowledging the terms. Ixa asks what she should do. Princess Sistina instructs her. First, she wants Ixa to hunt an animal that they can eat. Ixa confirms just one is fine. The small cat beastmen get excited and start celebrating. A beastman shouts. There was a herd of wild boars nearby. They'll hunt all of them down. Princess Sistina protests urgently. Just one is fine. Ixa responds confused. Wouldn't it be better to have more anyway? Then she relents. Princess Sistina insists there's no need to take more lives than necessary. Kaido says they'll go back to the mansion once and get the necessary tools. Later, the work area is set up outdoors with tables and equipment. Ixa returns holding a wild boar, announcing she got it. The small cat beastmen gather around. Princess Sistina thanks her. Ixa asks if one was enough. There were more than 10 in the herd. The clan chief confirms that's enough. Princess Sistina explains they are taking a life, so they shouldn't take more than they need. Ixa protests that's not true. What a waste. Princess Sistina responds that if she has one, she'll be fine for a month. Kaido asks carefully. 1 month? Princess Sistina gestures energetically, telling them to use this. Ixa looks at the magical circular device on the table, asking what it is. Princess Sistina explains it's a magic tool that duplicates meat. She originally made it for vegetables but modified it a bit. Ixa reacts in disbelief. The princess can make something like that? Ixa tells them to butcher the meat then. Kaido announces he's done. The group reacts with excitement. Princess Sistina and Ixa stand at the device table. The princess says they should try one. The process begins. Meat is placed on the magical circle, the device activates, and duplicated meat portions appear on the plate. The duplication process activates dramatically. The meat multiplies before their eyes. Rolls of meat float above the magical circle as it does its work. Ixa exclaims it really increased. The young cat beastman stares in shock. A villager calls out that the meat increased. Princess Sistina explains the limitations. If they duplicate it too much, the taste will deteriorate, so there's a limit to how many times they can do it. Ixa acknowledges this is amazing. Princess Sistina continues that with just one of these, their resources will multiply several times over. Kaido clarifies an important point. Duplicated meat loses its freshness and cannot be duplicated forever. However, it will be preserved as long as real meat. The young cat beastman asks how they'll preserve it since meat spoils quickly. Princess Sistina says, for now, she'll freeze and preserve it with her magic. The discussion continues about the broader implications. Ixa notes the population is growing, and hunting has its limits. Princess Sistina observes that hunting has more flaws than she thought. The demonstration concludes with meat on the duplication table. The narration emphasizes they can get meat safely without hunting. Princess Sistina stands in the center with bright determination, declaring she's going to create something that doesn't exist in this world. Kaido watches calmly while Ixa looks on in shock at the princess's ambitious declaration. Moving forward, the testing continues with the duplication device. 2 rolled meat portions sit on the magical circle. Kaido notices something wrong. The meat looks weird. He tells the princess it seems they've reached the duplication limit. Princess Sistina examines the results and confirms she can't eat any more of these, even if she duplicates them. The young cat beastman asks if they can arrange the replicated meat in order and suggests using it as fertilizer for the fields. Ixa and the small beastman look at the meat portions spread before them, noting this much should last them a while. Princess Sistina tests her magic on one of the degraded meat pieces. The process shows the limits of overduplication. The meat transforms and becomes rock hard. Later, at the village warehouse, Kaido asks the mayor if they could borrow the warehouse. The village chief confirms the storage room is over there. Outside near the warehouse, Kaido does the heavy lifting in the background. Princess Sistina asks Ixa if she's serious about what she just said. Ixa questions whether alchemy can really create living things, talking about creating new life. Princess Sistina responds simply, asking what she means. Princess Sistina explains that in principle, it's possible. However, she clarifies an important limitation. You can't create something from nothing. Kaido provides context about Princess Sistina's abilities. Alchemy is the power to reconfigure matter. She makes it look easy because of her vast knowledge and experience. Ixa gets excited about the possibilities. So there's a source animal then. Princess Sistina confirms yes. Ixa declares then all the more reason to hunt them. Princess Sistina counters this thinking. She warns that if they hunt them all, it'll negatively impact the ecosystem. She emphasizes again there's no need to take unnecessary lives. Princess Sistina delivers a serious statement about respect for life. She declares those who cannot respect life should not be involved in this process. The group falls quiet. Princess Sistina kneels by the rolled meat, working with determination. Kaido and Ixa both watch with contemplative expressions, processing the princess's words. The brainstorming begins. Kaido mentions he remembers there was a cow in the south that grew mushrooms on its body. He says it would be great if they could do something like that. Princess Sistina gets excited about the concept. For example, making fruit-like meat from the animal's body. Princess Sistina asks Kaido what exactly he has in mind. Kaido responds that well, he has a concept. Ixa interjects with concern, questioning if it's really that easy. She warns it's not easy and will take a lot of time. The group acknowledges they understand, ready to commit to the long-term development. Princess Sistina shifts focus to immediate infrastructure needs. She announces first, the water supply. She outlines the plan. Dig trenches, lay pipes, and connect them to each house and field. Her goal is to gradually bring the life in this town closer to that in the royal capital. Work begins on the water project. The village chief uses a megaphone to coordinate efforts, calling out to all the physically strong beastmen to leave the heavy lifting to them. A young beastman carries a large pipe past houses. Princess Sistina invites those who are free to come with her and make a magic tool to purify the river water. The group responds nervously that they don't have that kind of power. Princess Sistina reassures the group. She explains it's fine and she'll make the important parts herself. She just needs everyone to help her assemble it. The beastmen agree they understand and will do their best. Construction begins across the village. The beastmen work together on the water infrastructure project. Materials are gathered and structures start taking shape. Various groups handle different tasks. Some carry pipes, others assemble components, and the collaborative effort fills the village with activity. The work continues with impressive coordination. The villagers and beastmen cooperate seamlessly. Pipes are laid, equipment is installed, and the water purification system gradually comes together. Everyone contributes according to their abilities. After some time working, the other Beastmen villages offer support. They reassure Princess Sistina's group not to worry and tell them they'll get used to it since it's surprisingly easy. They acknowledge the work is harder for her village and promise that once they're done here, they'll help with the other village too. The group readily agrees. Kaido observes that nobody had to fight over the assistance. Ixa considers this, thinking maybe there was a reason. Princess Sistina reflects on how she didn't expect them to accept the help so easily. The long-haired Beastman reveals she was looking for a change. Two other Beastmen agree this direction was right. The group gathers together, united in their new path. Ixa admits it's not a bad change. Kaido acknowledges he sees that now. The village houses stand peacefully in the background as things settle into place. As the workday ends, Ixa announces it's time for everyone to go back to the village. The village chief notes that walking back alone must be tough. Princess Sistina agrees and decides she should establish a mode of transportation for the future. Ixa offers to let them stay overnight since they must be tired. Princess Sistina appreciates the offer but explains she can't leave the village empty overnight. Ixa suggests preparing a carriage, though she notes there are no horses around. Princess Sistina declines the carriage idea. Princess Sistina gets another idea and declares they should make a more convenient means of transportation. Ixa grows suspicious at the princess's scheming tone and questions what she means by convenient. Princess Sistina announces enthusiastically that she'll make a teleportation magic tool so they can move instantly. She even shows a diagram demonstrating the concept. The village chief and others react in shock, with the chief wondering how she could possibly make something like that without materials. The group processes the ambitious concept of teleportation. Kaido reminds everyone that the princess doesn't speak of things she can't do. Ixa questions if Princess Sistina is starting to understand something, then corrects herself, saying no, the princess would actually do it. Princess Sistina pumps her fist with determination, announcing that starting tomorrow, things will get even busier. Moving to the explanation phase, a young beastman asks what a transfer magic tool is. The group responds enthusiastically that they want to hear the explanation too. Ixa notes, it's a good question and says, she'll explain, asking everyone to listen carefully. Princess Sistina thanks them for the question and expresses interest in hearing it as well. Princess Sistina begins the explanation with a visual aid, describing it as a tool that instantly moves objects far away. Princess Sistina delivers a detailed technical explanation. She describes how the tool works by specifying two different points and the spaces between them. At that time, the spaces are fixed, but a powerful magnetic field and magic power are generated. To withstand that power, specific precious metals are needed to cover it, or the transfer magic tool itself must be enchanted with magic to weaken the magnetic field. However, this requires more than 10 kinds of metals, and many of them aren't normally available. Even if all the materials were obtained, the movement of living creatures presents challenges because magic power flows through their bodies, which inevitably affects them during transfer. Furthermore, the body cannot withstand the magnetic field. She wants to find a way to protect living beings somehow, but for that, she would have to repeat dangerous experiments, and she couldn't get permission in the royal capital. Even so, her theory can sufficiently consider safety. Kaido cuts in, telling the princess that's enough explanation. Princess Sistina concludes simply that, in other words, it will be much easier to travel between villages. The group discusses the teleportation magic tool further. Princess Sistina asks if it's very convenient. Kaido acknowledges it is, but warns it's a very difficult magic tool. He explains the dangers. If it fails, the person could move to a strange place or get crushed during the transfer. The young beastman reacts in shock at the word crushed. Kaido adds that the tool is already in practical use in the capital, but only for moving goods. Princess Sistina elaborates that in principle, people can also move through it, but it's not used because safety isn't guaranteed. The beastman notes that even just moving things would be convenient enough. Princess Sistina enthusiastically declares they should make a transfer magic tool that can move people too. The group immediately protests. Ixa questions if it's dangerous. Princess Sistina insists they'll make it safe. A beastman asks if she can really do it, noting internally that she's asking for the impossible again. Princess Sistina confidently declares she'll show them. The beastmen and others look on as Kaido acknowledges her determination. He suggests they should gather materials first to make it happen. The group arrives at a cave entrance. Kaido tells them the materials they need should be inside this cave. Ixa thanks him for guiding them. Kaido asks if Ixa shouldn't have brought others along. Ixa responds confidently that she's enough on her own. Princess Sistina questions if they can even fight monsters, and Ixa assures her naturally they can. Kaido observes that's reassuring. The group enters the cave and proceeds through the rocky interior. Princess Sistina notes it's easy to see when looking at it this way. Kaido agrees it's a good enough disguise to fool animals. Ixa tells them to get moving already. Massive rock-gaunt monsters appear before them. Ixa identifies them as monsters whose entire bodies are formed from minerals. Kaido adds that they generate and store various ores within their bodies. Princess Sistina declares excitedly that it's just like in the book and she's so happy to see it in person. She calls them treasure chests for their current needs. Ixa reacts to her making such a face in front of a monster. Princess Sistina instructs Kaido to try not to damage the torso too much since rockants store ore in their stomachs. Kaido tells her to leave it to him. The battle begins. Ixa and Kaido engage the rock gaunts in combat, striking at the creatures with coordinated attacks. The fight intensifies as they work together to take down the mineral monsters. Ixa comments that this much is to be expected. Kaido acknowledges it's not bad. The rock gaunts begin collapsing from their attacks. Kaido starts explaining that rock ants will regenerate using the surrounding terrain unless their cores are destroyed. Princess Sistina calls out for the timing and casts Sunlight Arrow, unleashing a powerful magical attack toward the fallen rock gaunts. Princess Sistina's Sunlight Arrow spell strikes with full force, the magical energy blasting through the cave toward the rock gaunt cores to destroy them permanently. The spell hits its mark. The rock gaunts crumble under the magical assault, their cores destroyed. Ixa launches a final strike as the creatures fall apart completely. After the battle, Princess Sistina celebrates their success, congratulating Kaido and Ixa on their teamwork. The two fighters stand victorious among the defeated monsters. Princess Sistina embraces Ixa in excitement over their first successful material gathering mission. Back at the village, Princess Sistina announces she'll create the magic tool now and asks everyone to help. The villagers and beastmen gather enthusiastically around her. The group examines the blueprints together, ready to begin construction. Construction completes, and a massive teleportation circle platform stands finished, complete with 4 ornate pillars. Ixa asks if it's done. Princess Sistina confirms the prototype is complete. Kaido suggests they should improve it later, but first they need to check if it works properly. The group prepares for the first test. Princess Sistina stands at the platform and activates the spell, calling out, "Teleport!" The magic circle glows with power. But things go wrong. Kaido shouts warnings to stay back and run. Kaido rushes to Princess Sistina, calling her name. He asks if she's hurt. Princess Sistina thanks him but says something more important happened. Kaido explains the issue. The test object was teleported into the sky instead of the intended destination. The group watches as a crate appears and disappears through the teleportation sequence. Kaido observes that the destination is unstable. Princess Sistina contemplates the problem, realizing something significant about the malfunction. Princess Sistina decides to try again. Kaido asks if she found something. One of the platform's pillars shows signs of magical disturbance as they prepare for another test. Princess Sistina has an epiphany. Ixa reacts in shock as another test sends the object to a different location again. Kaido identifies the problem. The dragon veins are affecting the teleportation magic. Kaido explains the technical issue. The dragon veins are controlled by the magical tool, and during teleportation the magic flowing through the earth reacts with the generated magic, making the destination unstable. Princess Sistina clarifies it's about control, not suppression. No matter how carefully arranged, a large magical impact would disrupt it. Ixa struggles to understand the complicated explanation, but asks the crucial question, does this mean they can't use the teleportation device in this land? Kaido confirms the device generates a massive surge of magic instantaneously that cannot be suppressed. Princess Sistina proposes a solution. If there's a marker so she doesn't lose sight of the destination, it might be able to cover the influence of the dragon vein. She considers the idea carefully, her expression determined. Ixa asks about a marker. She suggests a powerful magic stone or something similar. Princess Sistina recognizes what she means. Those stones imbued with magic. Princess Sistina explains magic stones are the core of magical tools and have been used as devices for a long time. However, what's being used are common magic stones. What's needed for a marker is something much more powerful. Kaido suggests ordering one from the capital. It'll take time, but they can arrange it. Princess Sistina rejects the idea. A magic stone that's just powerful will clash with the dragon's veins magic. Kaido clarifies the requirement. Princess Sistina needs a powerful magic stone that's compatible with the dragon's vein. Princess Sistina confirms that's exactly right. Kaido questions if such a convenient item even exists. The situation seems dire. Princess Sistina turns to Ixa and asks if her village has magic stones. Ixa hesitates, mentioning they don't use magic tools. Princess Sistina reacts with surprise. Ixa quickly says it's nothing. Princess Sistina confronts Ixa directly. She knows Ixa has something in mind. Ixa denies knowing anything, but Princess Sistina calls her a liar. She insists Ixa definitely knows something and demands she tell her. Ixa tries to deflect. Princess Sistina presses harder with an enthusiastic plea. Ixa and Kaido appear defeated by her persistence. Princess Sistina asks if Ixa knows other demi-human races have built villages in this land. Ixa confirms it. Among them, the elf clan excels in magic. They might have something like that. Princess Sistina lights up at the mention of elves, the race rumored to have their own unique magical technology. She asks where they are, saying she'd love to meet them. The group is apparently close to the Elven territory. Kaido tells Princess Sistina to calm down. She apologizes for losing her composure. Kaido then tells Ixa not to excite the princess too much. Ixa protests it's not her fault and calls him a jealous butler. Princess Sistina confirms Ixa knows about the Elven village. Ixa admits she knows but doesn't really recommend it. Ixa explains that elves are a reclusive race and rarely leave their forest territory. She hasn't seen them in years. They've completely cut off contact with other races. Kaido and Princess Sistina acknowledge they seem to be a very cautious race. But there are no other candidates. Princess Sistina declares she wants to meet them and decide for herself. Princess Sistina announces they'll go meet the elves. She asks if Ixa will guide them. Ixa questions if there's any other way. Ixa finally agrees to guide them. Princess Sistina and the group prepare to depart while Kaido observes from the background. The group arrives at the elf forest. Massive ancient trees tower overhead, creating an otherworldly atmosphere. Princess Sistina notes it's a strange forest. Just a few minutes ago, the landscape was familiar. Kaido observes the vegetation here is different, and he feels like a dwarf compared to the enormous trees. Princess Sistina looks contemplative as they venture deeper into the forest. Ixa explains, it's a forest the elves created themselves, though she doesn't know the details either. Kaido asks if there are elves ahead. Ixa says probably. When pressed on the uncertainty, Ixa reveals the last time she came here was about 30 years ago. She wasn't allowed into the village then either. Kaido starts to question Ixa further. Princess Sistina continues walking, but something feels strange. Kaido realizes they've been going around in circles. Ixa curses. It's an elven barrier, their specialty. Princess Sistina asks what a barrier is. Ixa explains she told them elves generally don't interfere with the outside world. However, this is different. Kaido observes something. Ixa admits it seems she's not welcome here. Ixa notes it's always the same scenery repeating over and over. Kaido shouts a warning. Ixa thanks him for saving her from some danger. Ixa reveals how she got out before the war. She had a guide back then. She's never broken through the barrier alone, not once. Princess Sistina listens carefully and starts analyzing the situation. Princess Sistina suddenly raises her weapon with determination. Ixa questions the sudden change, while Kaido calls out to the princess. Princess Sistina declares she understands now. Princess Sistina explains the barrier isn't affecting the entire forest. She's shifting perception, starting with them as the intruders. Kaido confirms her theory. The magic doesn't know the center of the barrier, so it shouldn't be able to sustain its effect. The barrier is deceiving their senses, not the forest itself. Princess Sistina realizes they just need to go wild. Princess Sistina charges forward, and the group pushes through with force, attempting to break the barrier. An elven observer watches from the shadows and wonders what they're thinking. Princess Sistina laughs, saying, "This is kind of fun." Kaido comments, "It's as expected of the princess." Ixa notes they look like they're having an easy time. The elf realizes if this keeps up, they'll break through. This is bad. The elf archer attacks from the trees. Princess Sistina engages in combat, dodging and striking back as arrows fly through the forest. The elf discovers something and declares she found it. The elf archer fires. The arrow hits its mark and someone goes down hard with the impact. Princess Sistina shouts for Kaido. The hooded elf catches Kaido as he falls, telling the princess to leave it to her. Princess Sistina asks if Kaido is hurt, and he thanks the elf. The elf tells Ixa to let go. Princess Sistina stands with Ixa, processing what just happened. The elf introduces herself to Princess Sistina as the new lord, explaining she came to talk to everyone in the elf village. But then her attitude shifts completely. She angrily demands they go home, shouting this is not a place for humans. Princess Sistina calmly responds she has no intention of fighting. The elf refuses to be fooled, saying she was taught humans are a barbaric race and she'll never let them near the village. Princess Sistina counters that humans aren't a barbaric race. They're all very gentle and kind people. The elf shouts that's a lie, pointing out that people who laugh while running through a forest full of traps can't be kind. Princess Sistina explains that was just because they enjoyed running at full speed and they only want to talk. The elf refuses to believe it, declaring that as the gatekeeper she won't let them pass as long as she's here. Someone starts to protest, but the elf uses some technique and all three of them suddenly collapse together, knocked unconscious. The elf wakes up tired and confused. Kaido is cooking nearby and tells her she's awake, mentioning he stored the cat in his magic storage for lunchtime. Princess Sistina invites her to have lunch together and not be alarmed. The elf insists she's not going to eat that. Kaido serves the food, telling the elf to eat as much as she wants. Princess Sistina digs in enthusiastically. The elf tries it and her eyes widen. It's delicious. Kaido notices she likes it. The elf explains that hunger and lack of magic caused her collapse. Kaido mentions he was surprised when she suddenly passed out, but now understands. The elf thanks them for saving her. Princess Sistina tells her not to worry about it. Sisti is fine as a name, but asks what hers is. The elf is confused since Princess Sistina mentioned being the new lord. Princess Sistina explains she shared some of her magic with the elf to help. Ixa chimes in, saying the elf's name is Fina. Princess Sistina's eyes tear up hearing the name. Ixa asks Fina why she's with humans. Fina recognizes Ixa as a beastman and seems surprised. Princess Sistina explains this is actually the first time they've properly talked, noting their earlier encounter was more of a fight. Fina admits they've only met a few times before. Ixa says a lot happened and they're cooperating with the humans now. Princess Sistina wonders about a beastman traveling with humans. Ixa clarifies they just want to talk and have no intention of fighting. Fina looks at them carefully. She admits it's true. These people aren't bad. She agrees to help and Princess Sistina unties her. Fina thanks her enthusiastically and offers to guide them to the village. Fina explains this is her way of thanking them for helping her. The group heads toward the elf village together through the forest. Fina leads them through the forest using some kind of guidance. Princess Sistina notices it's not just a light. It shows them the right path. Kaido explains it's a spell to pass through the barrier. Fina thinks it's convenient and considers trying it herself. But then she reveals they can't. It's an elf's creation, built in conjunction with the barrier itself. Only elves can use it. Princess Sistina and the others watch as Fina somehow manages to replicate the spell. Fina explains she got to see it up close, so she figured it out. Princess Sistina, Kaido, and Ixa all look stunned by what just happened. They arrive at the Elven village. Kaido takes in the sight of houses built into massive trees, connected by rope bridges and pathways. The architecture blends perfectly with the natural forest. Princess Sistina can't contain her excitement, calling it wonderful, a city built in harmony with nature. Kaido quietly reminds her to keep her voice down or she'll startle the villagers. Fina apologizes. The Elven residents notice them, pointing out there's a human and even beastmen in their village. 3 elf women approach them. The one in the center welcomes Fina home, saying she's been waiting for her. Princess Sistina, Kaido, and Ixa all freeze in shock at the sight of whoever just greeted them. Fina's older sister introduces the current village chief, her twin sister, Ryuna. Princess Sistina realizes they're twins, which explains why Fina looks so much like them. Kaido notes they look identical. Ryuna welcomes them, saying she's been waiting and knows about them through the wind. Princess Sistina and Kaido are caught off guard. The wind told her about them. Ryuna also mentions she knows they helped Fina. As village chief, Ryuna thanks Princess Sistina for helping Fina. Her older sister joins in the thanks. Princess Sistina insists she only did what was natural. The conversation shifts as Ryuna's sister recognizes Ixa, noting it's been a while. Ixa agrees, asking how many years it's been. Ryuna's sister is surprised to see a beastman like Ixa here, especially with a human. Ixa admits she's also surprised that Ryuna became the chief. The group watches as tension builds between them. Ixa suddenly jumps on Ryuna's sister, declaring she missed her. The sister protests, telling her not to just jump on her like that. Kaido and Princess Sistina watch the scene unfold with confused expressions, clearly not understanding the dynamic between these two. Ixa explains how much she missed Ryuna's sister. 10 years might be nothing for an elf, but she was so lonely without her. For Ixa, it felt like an eternity. The sister insists that's not true. It's been a while for her too. Ixa carefully asks about their relationship. Ixa enthusiastically declares they've pledged their future to each other. The story unfolds. They used to play together when they were little, but the previous chief was difficult and told them to befriend beastmen instead. They got caught meeting in secret. Eventually, the old chief got sick, and Ryuna became the new chief. Ryuna's sister reflects on how the village is slowly changing, and perceptions of outsiders should change more as well. But angry elf villagers protest that no one will approve of Lady Ryuna's marriage to a beastman. Ixa pushes to get married right now. The sister admits things are better than they used to be. Princess Sistina feels like she's witnessed a new kind of battle. Kaido now understands why they hesitated when bringing up the elves. But if these two have a good relationship, the villagers might listen to them. Princess Sistina asks if they could help them. Ryuna wants to say yes, but even if she's okay with it, she still needs to persuade everyone in the village. The village is changing, but because they've cut off contact with the outside world for so long, prejudice still runs deep. There are also several other problems occurring in the village, so they don't have the luxury of cooperating right now. The elves look concerned. Princess Sistina declares that they'll solve that problem then. The elves question what humans can do. It's an elf problem, different from human circumstances. Princess Sistina stands confidently, saying that's exactly why it's worth a try. Ryuna considers Princess Sistina's bold offer. After a moment, she agrees. They'll do it. A male elf nearby calls out in surprise. Princess Sistina explains her reasoning. If she can solve the village's problems, she should be able to convince everyone else to help them. Ryuna smiles and tells them to do their best together. Princess Sistina, Kaido, and Ryuna join hands in agreement, affirming their partnership. Ryuna reveals the problem the elves face. It's a food problem. Ryuna explains their staple food is fruits and vegetables, but the harvest has become unstable. Princess Sistina picks up on this immediately, asking if the crops are having trouble growing. She requests to see the fields. Ryuna agrees and leads the way. Kaido and Ixa decide to follow along as well. They arrive at the elf fields. Princess Sistina is impressed by the splendid farmland spread before them. Ryuna explains, this is it. The elves mention they've been farming this way ever since the village was founded. The techniques have been passed down through generations. Princess Sistina moves closer to examine the trees. Princess Sistina's eye glows as she detects something. Just as she thought. The magic of the dragon's vein flows through these trees as well. Ryuna is surprised she can tell. Princess Sistina asks when the harvest became unstable. Ryuna answers, it's been a few years. Before that, everything was fine. Princess Sistina thanks her. Now she understands the cause. Ryuna explains it's because the dragon vein is unstable. Kaido asks if it's the same reason as their village. The group discusses possible solutions. Ixa mentions that, even in the Beastmen village, they managed with magic tools. Kaido wonders if they mean a control device. Princess Sistina thinks about it. If they had that, they could control the dragon vein. Kaido asks what Ryuna means by not enough. Ryuna explains the situation. The total amount of magic flowing through the dragon vein is almost the same in both this village and theirs. Ixa doesn't understand what's wrong with that. Princess Sistina reveals it's a characteristic of the elf race. Princess Sistina shares what she learned from her research. Elves looked up in the literature. Unlike humans, elves can't generate magic power within their bodies. Instead, they absorb it from outside. Ryuna confirms this is correct. Princess Sistina continues, that's why elves choose lands strongly affected by dragon veins. Ryuna adds more context. This place was also more strongly affected in the past. Ixa catches the past tense in her words. Ryuna explains that until a few years ago, this was the place where the dragon veins flowed strongest in the area. But now, the total amount of dragon veins is no different from anywhere else. The conversation continues about the dragon vein situation. Princess Sistina admits she doesn't have enough magic power to help. Ryuna confirms this assessment is correct. Princess Sistina recognizes there's an even more serious problem beyond just the crops. The elves agree and tell them it's faster if they see it for themselves. They lead the group to another location. The scene shifts to show an impressive elf building with elaborate architecture nestled among the trees. Inside an ornate tent-like structure, the group is shown a sleeping elderly male elf. The elves explain he's been asleep for several years now. Ryuna reveals this person is their grandfather, the previous village chief. Princess Sistina takes in this troubling sight. Princess Sistina identifies the condition immediately. It's a disease that affects races like elves called magic deficiency syndrome. A dramatic vision shows an elf's body collapsing and disintegrating, leading to death. Kaido mentions he's heard of it. Ixa adds that if elves don't consume enough magic, this is the eventual result. Ryuna provides more grim details. Some elves have already passed away. There are others still sleeping beyond just their grandfather. The situation became so dire that their parents left to find a new place to settle. The twin elves note their parents haven't returned yet. The weight of the situation becomes clear. The twin elves hold hands, their expressions heavy with worry and helplessness. One asks if there's any solution. The other responds that there's nothing more they can do. The group watches the struggling elf twins in silence. The sisters embrace each other under the decorated canopy, seeking comfort. Princess Sistina's hands clench into fists at her sides as she witnesses their despair. Princess Sistina's eyes narrow with fierce determination. Her expression hardens with resolve as she processes everything she's learned about the elves' desperate situation. Ixa suddenly has an idea. In the end, it's a problem with the dragon veins, right? She asks if they can't fix it somehow with the control device. Princess Sistina explains the issue with that approach. They'd have to amplify the dragon vein first, then control it. Just controlling it alone won't make up for the lacking magic power. Ixa looks at Princess Sistina intensely and insists she can do it. Of all people, the princess should be capable. Ryuna watches this exchange carefully. Princess Sistina responds with complete confidence. Of course she'll do it, Sachi. That's what she's here for. Her determination radiates as Kaido, Ixa, and Ryuna all look on with hope renewed. The elf twin asks if the princess can really do that. Princess Sistina declares she'll solve both the food shortage and the lack of magic power. They discuss the urgency. They need to solve everything at once since they don't have time to waste. The elf twin asks how exactly they'll manage it. Princess Sistina proposes making a new kind of food that can restore magic power. The others question if such a thing is even possible. One elf notes they've never heard of food that can replenish magic. Princess Sistina stays determined. Then they'll make it. Princess Sistina asks Ixa if it's really possible. Kaido asks the princess what she needs. Ixa grins and says to just say the word and she'll fetch whatever they need. They're lucky to have all the materials right here. Ixa notes that when the princess says she'll do something, she does it. There are people like that out there. The group rallies together. They call out to Lady Ryuna that they'll help too. Ryuna's eyes water. With emotion. The elves know if they keep the current situation going, everyone will collapse eventually. Since there's a chance, they should try it. Ixa asks if it's really that hard to draw mana from outside. Aren't elves naturally built for that? Princess Sistina explains there are individual differences in mana. The elves add more detail. Since they grew up here, exactly where the ley line's mana suits their bodies best. Elves absorb compatible mana and convert it inside their bodies. The village is struggling with the same thing and investigating the cause, but they don't know yet. Kaido notes the problem is that the ley line has become unstable. They need to find a faster way to replenish the elves. Kaido tells the group he wants them to go get some vegetables from Kate Village. Princess Sistina looks curious and asks what they're for. Kaido explains, the vegetables grown in the village carry a faint trace of mana due to the influence of the dragon veins. The mana dwelling in food, the mana still remaining within the elves' bodies, they'll simultaneously amplify it to rapidly promote mana recovery. Princess Sistina lights up at the idea of making a potion to enhance it. Kaido notes it's only temporary, but the elves should be able to recover from this dangerous state. The group celebrates the plan with excitement. Princess Sistina gives out instructions. She tells Ixa to go cut some trees from this forest. Ixa grins and says to leave the heavy lifting to her. She's got it. Princess Sistina then asks Ryuna if she has even a tiny fragment of magic stones or any magic tools. Ryuna asks if they can really actually do it. Princess Sistina admits they won't know until they try. It's her first time too. But she declares with firm resolve that they'll just keep at it until they can. Ryuna watches the princess with growing trust. The work begins. Princess Sistina focuses intently, preparing the materials with careful precision. She gathers the vegetables, magic stones, and tools they've collected. The group comes together around a table, working on creating the solution that could save the elf village. The entire group gathers in the workspace as the potion-making process begins. Princess Sistina focuses intently on the work while the elves and others watch closely. Everyone is invested in whether this experiment will succeed. The magic amplification process starts. Princess Sistina and the team channel their magic over the materials, bright lights surrounding their hands as the enhancement takes effect. The potion bottle fills with the specially prepared mixture, combining the vegetable juice from Kate Village with the magical amplification formula. Success! The elves watch in amazement. Ixa pumps her fist in celebration, and Kaido observes with satisfaction. The potion creation worked. Inside the building, two elves have a quiet conversation as the view shifts to show the village outside through the window. Time passes as they prepare for the next critical step. The finished products are ready. An ornate chalice holds the magic amplification potion mixed with vegetable juice from the village. Small spherical pills sit arranged on a decorative plate. Ryuna and her twin sister present the completed items. The work is done. The group stands near the prepared potion, discussing who should test it first. After a moment of hesitation, Ryuna steps forward and declares she'll test it herself. Someone has to be first. Ryuna takes the potion and the effects hit immediately. Magic power wells up from her body and she can feel it working. The others watch with hope. For now, it's a success. Princess Sistina notes they're ready for the next step. The group gathers around the bed where the previous elf village chief lies in his long sleep. They prepare to administer the potion to him. The elves watch with intense focus. Ixa and Kaido stand ready and Ryuna stays close. This is the real test. They give him the potion. The elderly chief's hand moves. He makes a sound. Fina leans in close, tears streaming down her face as she pleads for him to wake. Her grandfather is finally responding after years of sleep. The moment stretches. Fina's face shows pure joy mixed with desperate hope. Her prayer is reaching him. After all this time, he's coming back. Fina continues praying desperately for her grandfather. The chief lies on the bed, and then he speaks. He murmurs the name Fina, perhaps remembering someone from his past. He's regaining consciousness. The elderly chief opens his eyes fully and sees Fina crying. He asks why she's crying. Fina can barely speak through her tears and embraces him, calling out, "Grandpa." The reunion is overwhelming. The village erupts in celebration. The elves spread the word that the village chief has awakened. A miracle has happened. Ryuna greets her grandfather, calling out, "Good morning, grandfather." He recognizes her and says her name. Ryuna's face radiates pure happiness. Their leader has returned. Ixa stands with Ryuna, who's crying tears of relief and joy. Ixa looks away and mutters that this kind of thing is unfair. It's making her emotional too. She tells Ryuna she can cry if she needs to, offering comfort in her own rough way. The normally tough beast woman shows her softer side. Princess Sistina stands with Kaido and Ryuna as the elves acknowledge her accomplishment. The group gathers together and the elves comment that this is exactly what they'd expect from the princess. Princess Sistina humbly responds that it's thanks to everyone working together. The village elves gather around expressing their gratitude. The male elves say it was the same for them too. Everyone went through so much trouble together. Princess Sistina quickly tells the village chief to stop being so formal. The previous chief speaks up, his voice carrying weight. He admits that humans saved them, though the words seem difficult for him to say. Fina gently tries to soften her grandfather's phrasing. Outside the building, the previous chief addresses Princess Sistina directly by name. He tells her they are deeply grateful for saving their clan. Princess Sistina starts to respond, but the chief continues, acknowledging that he knows the situation. Still, he insists he is grateful. Princess Sistina looks surprised for a moment, then smiles warmly. She explains it wasn't by her strength alone, it's because everyone here gave their best with the same feelings. Ryuna observes the interactions with confidence, noting she's surprised they're working with humans. The group gathers with the three elves and Ixa in the background. The previous chief remarks that he's shocked that cheeky brat Ixa is now the leader of the beastfolk. He tells her from where he stands, she's no different from a baby. Ixa fires back that he still treats her like a kid. Kaido and Princess Sistina watch the banter between the old chief and the beast woman leader. The previous chief's eye appears in close-up as he mutters that they're special. The previous chief calls the boy insolent. Ixa and Ryuna speak up, stating they've decided to cooperate with the humans. Ixa asks what the elves will do. Fina looks confused. The previous chief responds that it's no longer for him to decide. Ryuna should decide. He confirms that the current village chief is Ryuna now. Ryuna smiles as the decision settles. The group watches. Fina, Ixa, and the previous chief all present. Outside near the building, Kaido and Princess Sistina discuss what comes next. Kaido announces he's decided about the treasure. Ryuna makes the official declaration. Standing with the previous chief and a male elf beside her, she announces that the elves also agree with the new lord's intentions and swear to cooperate. Kaido's face shows satisfaction. Princess Sistina looks surprised at the formal commitment. The alliance forms. The elves ask if there are any objections to the village chief's decision. Princess Sistina's eyes show emotion. Princess Sistina and Kaido stand with the magical items as Ryuna tells them she looks forward to working with her lord from now on. The entire group comes together and Princess Sistina thanks them. Everyone responds in kind. The scene shifts away from the forest. A grand castle appears with its towers and flags. A teacup is placed down. Inside an ornate room with elaborate curtains, two maids stand near a tea set on the table. Back at the castle, the two older princesses have their own conversation. First, Princess Ariel Larlat drinks her tea, noting it's been a while since that girl was sent to the frontier. Second, Princess Khalifa Larlat touches her face and says she figured Sistina would have given up by now. Khalifa suddenly speaks up with an idea, telling her sister Ariel she's thought of something good. Ariel responds. Back at the castle, Khalifa continues her scheming. She suggests to Ariel that as her older sister, she should give Sistina a trial. She starts to give an example of what she means. Ariel finds the idea intriguing and agrees. The scene shifts to show a group of knights standing together. They remain unaware of what's being planned. Khalifa's thoughts turn to Sistina, considering what lies ahead for her youngest sister. The scene returns to the frontier territory. Kaido asks Princess Sistina if the position is acceptable. She confirms it is and thanks him. Fina excitedly announces that with the elves' cooperation, the teleportation magic device is finally complete. The group gathers around the magical circle drawn on the ground. Kaido expresses confidence that the test will succeed. Ixa calls out that everything is set up on the other side too. All that's left now is to test the princess. The group prepares as feet approach the circle. The previous elf chief arrives despite needing rest, insisting on seeing the teleportation magic tool he's heard about. Fina and other elves tell him he should still be resting. The scene is now complete and ready for the experiment. Ryuna explains that once her grandfather decides something, he never stops until he sees it through. Ixa comments that the previous chief is just like him. Kaido observes that the two are close as always, finding it heartwarming. Ixa protests that he's not that stubborn. Moving to the experiment details, the setup is explained. The devices are positioned in the elf village, the beastman's village, and the human village. If they move in sequence and return successfully, it will confirm everything works. The previous chief asks Princess Sistina if she's about to begin the experiment. Princess Sistina explains that before, the dragon vein's influence made the destination unstable, but this time it will work. She strengthened the device by embedding the magic stones she received. Fina asks if she can stay to witness it as well. Princess Sistina agrees. The entire group gathers around the teleportation circle. Princess Sistina announces she's starting and activates the magic. The magic circle erupts with dramatic effects. The group watching sees Princess Sistina and Ixa disappear. Princess Sistina reports she's successfully teleported to the Beastman village first. She then teleports them to the human village. The plan is to return to the elf village next. Princess Sistina focuses and counts down. If everything goes as planned, this should work. 3, 2, 1. She activates the return. The teleportation completes with explosive magical energy and debris. Princess Sistina and Ixa materialize back at the elf village. Kaido confirms they made it back. The signature from the other locations is clear. Documents showing the successful connections are visible. The entire group erupts in celebration. It's a huge success. The others look confused. Wasn't it already finished? What improvements is Princess Sistina talking about? Princess Sistina thanks them and announces they can now move forward with improvements. She plans to modify it so humans can be transported too. The group wonders if that's even possible. Princess Sistina explains that theoretically speaking, it should work. It just hadn't been put into practice due to safety concerns. Ixa asks the obvious question, why can't humans use it currently? Princess Sistina responds that's exactly the thing they need to address. Princess Sistina prepares to explain the teleportation device's limitations in a way everyone can understand. She tells them to listen carefully. The most important factor among all the technical aspects is magic power. She explains the fundamental difference between living things and objects. Living things have senses while objects don't feel anything, but teleportation still affects them in various ways. During teleportation, the device causes waves of magic power to surge. People with low magic power get dizzy from those waves, and the waves cause all sorts of disorders in the body. The explanation continues. Princess Sistina notes these effects also damage the brain through heat, extreme cold, and brief but strong vibrations, moments of high intensity. Ixa recognizes this as magical intoxication. Princess Sistina confirms that even for her, if the brain gets destroyed, regeneration is difficult. The brain is a part that's hard to heal even with magic. Kaido asks how they can protect people from this. The easiest solution is to cover the teleportation area with a barrier. That way humans can be protected too during transport. Ryuna hears the explanation and thinks it sounds easy. Princess Sistina admits the barrier method is simple, but Fina points out it consumes too much mana and is inefficient. That's why it wasn't adopted in the royal capital. Ryuna suggests adapting the barrier they use in the forest, noting that one uses very little mana. Fina gets extremely excited about this idea, begging Ryuna to teach her. The others observe that Fina is showing that intense, eager expression again. The group works together on implementing the forest barrier design. Everyone gathers around the teleportation circle outdoors. Fina focuses intently on the modifications, while Princess Sistina, Kaido, Ryuna, Ixa, and the previous elf chief observe the process. The work progresses and the group comes together. Everyone's smiling at their successful collaboration. The previous elf chief has sneaked out of his room again to watch. Ixa scolds him, warning that if he collapses again, Ryuna and the others will cry. The old elf insists he's fine now. Ixa mutters that the previous chief is impossible. The scene grows quiet as the previous elf chief looks at the gathered group. He reflects that his entire life was spent thinking only of protecting the village and his comrades. Seeing humans, elves, and beastmen working together peacefully, it's unbelievable to him. He never could have imagined a sight like this. The previous elf chief observes that times change and this can't be helped. He comments that the youngster talks big. Ixa protests that he's not a kid anymore. The previous elf chief acknowledges this truth, looking at Ixa and Ryuna together. That's exactly why things are different now. Ixa approaches the previous elf chief with a serious request. He asks if the old elf will let him take care of Ryuna. The previous elf chief considers the question carefully. He asks Ixa if this is acceptable. The old elf then states directly that Ixa isn't a child anymore. He gives his answer, "Do as you please." Ixa accepts the permission. He thanks the previous elf chief. The two stand together as the moment settles between them. A quiet moment settles in the forest. Ixa stands among the trees, emotions finally surfacing after the conversation with the previous elf chief. The feelings held back for so long are about to come forward. Suddenly, Ryuna makes her move. She rushes toward Ixa through the forest. Ixa barely has time to react before Ryuna jumps at her and embraces her tightly. Ixa calls out in surprise at the sudden embrace. Ryuna declares her feelings directly. She tells Ixa that she loves her too and is so happy that Ixa has been thinking about her that way. Ixa responds that she'll always love Ryuna. Ryuna points out that Ixa was eavesdropping on the conversation just now. Ixa lies on the ground and admits she knows. Ryuna asks Ixa if she loves her. She notes that Ixa was listening to the conversation with her grandfather. Ryuna wants Ixa to say it properly, not to her grandfather, but directly to her. The others nearby react with various emotional expressions as they witness the moment. Ixa and Ryuna embrace in the forest. Ixa tells Ryuna directly that she loves her. Ryuna thanks Ixa and reveals the truth. She's felt the same way since back then. Ixa responds that she's the one who should apologize for keeping Ryuna waiting all this time. The two stand together with the previous elf chief nearby, watching the moment unfold. The group has been watching the whole confession scene. The previous elf chief observes from a distance. Princess Sistina notices they've been spotted, and Kaido admits he's been found out. Ixa turns to the group and demands to know why everyone is staring at them. The others discuss how long they've been watching. Kaido explains that everyone knew from the very beginning, since the moment Ixa declared to Ryuna's grandfather that she wanted to marry Ryuna. Meanwhile, Ryuna excitedly tells her sister Fina that Ixa said she's totally in love with her. Fina confirms she saw it too. Fina celebrates and tells her sister that this is great. Ryuna looks flustered from all the attention. Princess Sistina offers to officiate the wedding if they're having one. Ixa protests that they shouldn't make too much fun of her. Kaido comments that Ixa's confession was very manly. The previous elf chief gets excited and suggests they do the wedding right now. Ryuna tells everyone to calm down. Ryuna notes that the wedding comes later and tells everyone to settle down. Princess Sistina asks if they remodel the mansion. Can they make it look the part for a celebration? Kaido agrees this is right. Ixa confirms they should calm down already. Princess Sistina proposes they'll build a town here that's even more wonderful than the capital. Ryuna questions if that's really possible. More wonderful than the capital. Ixa affirms that's exactly right. Princess Sistina reminds everyone there are still plenty of problems they need to solve first. They should finish all that stuff first, and then things will look better. The previous elf chief reflects that both they and this village have finally taken their first step down a new path. Ryuna calls out to Ixa as the group continues planning their future together. Ryuna acknowledges that Princess Sistina is right. She still hasn't repaid her for saving her life. Princess Sistina sees an opportunity and proposes a deal. She tells Ryuna to leave the wedding preparations to her and promises to make it the happiest wedding in the world. But in return, Ryuna needs to celebrate the wedding in proper style. Ixa agrees to do it if it's for the princess, though she notes that's asking quite a bit. Kaido confirms this arrangement. The group celebrates together with a carriage ride through the territory. Happy moments unfold as the couples embrace and enjoy their time together. Later, Kaido finds himself confused about something, wondering where a particular item has gone. About a week passes. At the human village, the entire group gathers together. Princess Sistina, Kaido, the Beastmen, including Ixa, the elves, including Ryuna and Fina, and the villagers. They discuss the construction progress. The work is almost finished, and once completed, getting around will be much easier. After that, they can finally start building the town in earnest. They also need to dig deeper into the dragon vein issue. Everyone agrees on the plan ahead. During the discussion, Ixa suddenly detects something. She tells the group that she smells someone unfamiliar approaching. The others wonder what's happening. In the distance, mounted figures appear. Riders on horseback charge toward the village at full speed. Princess Sistina recognizes who they are. These must be her knights from the capital. The mounted envoys arrive and make their presence known. They announce they are envoys from the royal capital and demand that Lady Sistina Lullard, the Lord, be brought out. The diverse group, including the Beastmen, elves, and villagers, watches as an envoy dismounts and bows before Princess Sistina. The envoy greets her, saying it has been a long time. He explains that paying taxes on one's domain is required by law, and therefore he has come to deliver the official notice. Princess Sistina asks what business they have with her. The envoy states he has brought something with him. Princess Sistina looks at what he's holding and sees it's a tax notice. The envoy reminds her that as she's aware, paying taxes on one's domain is required by law, which is why he's come to deliver this notice. Both Princess Sistina and Kaido look at the document with growing concern. The envoy addresses Lady Sistina as the Lord of the Northern Territory. The tax notice is revealed in full. It demands immediate payment of 50 million euro in taxes. Princess Sistina stares at the notice in complete shock, sweat forming on her face as the reality of the situation hits her. The entire group stands frozen in shock. Princess Sistina looks down at the tax notice, barely able to process what she's seeing. Behind her, all her companions, Kaido, Ixa, Ryuna, Fina, Khalifa, and the others, stare in disbelief at the astronomical figure. 50 million. The shock spreads through everyone present. The village chief, the young boy Shun, and the other villagers and beastmen all react with complete disbelief. They cry out that there must be some mistake. 50 million euros is an impossible amount. The massive tax demand leaves everyone stunned, with no clear path forward for how Princess Sistina could possibly pay such a sum. Ixa processes the tax amount in disbelief, asking if it's really that high. She remarks that 50 million euros is enough to build a modest mansion in the capital. A villager nearby declares there's no way they can pay that. Meanwhile, Kaido explains to Princess Sistina that normally such a heavy tax wouldn't be charged in a remote place like this. Princess Sistina looks down, troubled by the situation. The envoy then announces the payment deadline. The taxes must be paid within 1 week. The entire group reacts in shock at how little time they have. The village chief protests that something isn't right about this situation. One of the beastmen backs him up, questioning how they can demand taxes out of nowhere for such an enormous amount. The envoy simply responds that he already told them. It's the rule. Princess Sistina asks the envoy to explain the situation to her. The envoy repeats what he said earlier. This is simply how things are. Princess Sistina analyzes the situation aloud. The territory is far from the capital, has little political value, and the land itself is still undeveloped. A companion agrees that the tax amount is far too high for a developing territory. The envoy acknowledges her point but explains that the land has had unpaid taxes for quite some time. That factor has been included in calculating this amount. Kaido asks when the last time taxes were paid was. The village chief admits that taxes have never even been demanded before. Princess Sistina considers this revelation. The territory was most likely neglected for so long that generations of lords must have given up on it entirely. The envoy continues his explanation. He tells Princess Sistina to consider this amount as mercy from the kingdom. Normally, unpaid taxes of this scale would be tantamount to treason against the state. A villager mutters that this can't be happening. Ryuna suggests they just ignore the demand since the kingdom has been neglecting them all this time anyway. Fina agrees, pointing out that nothing will change since the country never supported them in the first place. However, someone recognizes it's not that simple to dismiss. Ixa demands to know why they have to leave their land. Ryuna insists this is their territory. The envoy coldly informs them that if payment cannot be made, the estate will be dismantled. He draws his sword and declares that the land belongs to the kingdom, not to them. The residents will be forcibly evicted. If they refuse to comply, they'll be arrested as criminals. Both Ixa and Princess Sistina react to the word criminals with visible concern. Tension explodes as Fina physically grabs the envoy in anger. Kaido looks on, thinking he can't believe these guys are human like him. Ixa curses the envoys as bastards. Just as the confrontation escalates, Princess Sistina reaches out and tells everyone to wait. The group freezes, looking to her for direction. Kaido tells the group that regardless of their feelings, these are the rules they're dealing with. Ixa responds that she understands the reason but still can't accept it. Princess Sistina stands between them as the voice of reason. She points out to the envoy that if this is truly a rule, why has it been ignored until now? The envoy hesitates, acknowledging that from what he's heard, they've never even come to collect taxes before. Princess Sistina presses her argument. The amount and timing are suspicious, and the whole situation can't be called fair. The envoy tries to fall back on procedure, but Princess Sistina cuts through his deflection. Princess Sistina challenges the envoy to explain something to her. Taxes are meant to sustain the kingdom's finances in exchange for support and protection. This land hasn't received enough benefits to justify paying taxes at all. Kaido observes the exchange, thinking that, as expected of the princess, she remains calm even in this situation. Still, he doubts the envoys will back down with just logical arguments. The envoy concedes that Princess Sistina is right about being sent here under orders. However, he maintains they can't change the rules either. Princess Sistina sees an opening and tells him she has a proposal. If she pays the 50 million euros in taxes, she wants the kingdom to promise support equivalent to that amount. The envoy looks skeptical as Princess Sistina confidently asks if he can manage arranging that much support. Her calm smile suggests she's already thinking several moves ahead. The envoy agrees to Princess Sistina's proposal. One of the residents offers to deliver the message herself to the capital. Kaido thanks her for volunteering. As the envoy prepares to leave, he issues a warning to Princess Sistina. If they fail to pay the taxes, they need to be prepared for the consequences. Princess Sistina calmly acknowledges his warning. The envoy rides away on horseback as the residents watch him depart. Once the envoy is gone, excitement spreads through the group. One of the residents declares this is their chance. Kaido looks to Princess Sistina questioningly. The residents realize that if they can pay the required taxes, the nation will provide matching support. Ryuna points out that this arrangement will speed up their territory's development significantly. Seeing the strategic opportunity in this situation, Fina, Ixa, and Ryuna exchange hopeful looks. The discussion continues as everyone processes the implications. Kaido confirms that Princess Sistina is absolutely right. With that level of support, they could practically build a whole town. Ixa brings up that the kingdom is building a mansion in the royal capital. The village chief thinks it sounds like quite a dream. He adds that if this happens, it'll be easier for other races to gather in their territory too. Shun enthusiastically agrees that this brings them so much closer to their ideal. However, Ryuna voices concern about acquiring that much money. One of the residents comments that this situation is just like before. Another adds that they've overcome every hardship together. The group gathers in an interior space. Clearly united in facing this challenge, Ryuna acknowledges she already knows they can handle it. Princess Sistina smiles confidently at her assembled companions. Princess Sistina stands with arms raised joyfully, birds flying around her against a bright sky. She declares with conviction that this land holds infinite possibilities. Her confidence and optimism radiate through the scene. The group stands together: Fina, the village chief, Shun, Kaido, Ryuna, and others. Moving forward, Kaido and Ryuna share a determined look. Princess Sistina pumps her fists with fierce determination, announcing that this is the big showdown. An emergency meeting convenes in a formal chamber. Princess Sistina and a companion sit in ornate throne-like chairs while Kaido stands nearby. On the table before them, the stark reality is laid out. They need to pay 50 million euros in taxes within a week. Ryuna asks what exactly they're going to do. Someone acknowledges they need a way to get a huge amount of money in a short time. Kaido admits he's thought about it, but can only come up with bad ways to accomplish it. Fina suggests producing a specialty product. Kaido explains why that's difficult. Even under normal circumstances, 50 million euros is an unthinkable amount of money, unless dealing with a noble who has huge capital. He adds that this time, they can't use Princess Sistina's assets either. Ixa thinks it's a good idea though. Something unique to their land that they could sell in a big city. She's thinking of local produce and goods. Ryuna points out the time constraint. There's just not enough time. A week isn't nearly enough to go from development to sales. Despite the timing issue, Princess Sistina gets excited about the concept, calling local specialties a great idea. Fina acknowledges Ryuna's point about the timeline. Ixa points out they'll still need money in the future. Ryuna agrees they should work on that specialty product plan once they get through this immediate crisis. Kaido then suggests they could borrow from someone. Ixa immediately shoots down the idea, asking who would possibly lend them that kind of money. Kaido suggests they could consult the nobles who supported Princess Sistina in the royal capital. That route is definitely possible. Princess Sistina acknowledges it's the most realistic option, but she knows that won't work. Kaido catches on immediately to what she means. Sistina explains the key is showing everyone what this land can do, that it holds infinite possibilities. Kaido agrees completely. Borrowing money from nobles wouldn't have solved the real problem they're facing in their territory. They need a different approach. Princess Sistina strikes a determined pose and makes her declaration. She and everyone in the territory are going to create a brand new invention. The announcement catches Ryuna, Ixa, and Fina completely off guard, leaving them stunned and confused about what exactly she has in mind. Princess Sistina explains that back when she was in the capital, she spoke with a merchant once. The merchant wanted a way to transport food while keeping it fresh. One of the group members asked why they couldn't just pack it with ice or something. The response points out that ice only lasts a few hours, but traveling from town to town takes days. A thought bubble shows a comical walking storage box. Princess Sistina decides they should make a portable food storage unit then. Kaido mentions they already have magical refrigerating devices in practical use in the royal capital. One of the group members is surprised they already exist. Princess Sistina points out the problem though. Those devices are way too big to move. Plus, they consume massive amounts of magic power and need constant magic supply to keep running. She gets excited laying out exactly what they need to create: a portable storage unit that can run for a long time on just a single magic charge. Princess Sistina sits contemplatively, admitting she honestly can't do this alone. It's really difficult. A voice reminds her that everyone's here with her. The village chief speaks up, honored to hear her acknowledge their role. Another voice notes that in terms of dexterity and finesse, humans are second to none. Ixa confidently declares that with their high physical abilities and sturdy bodies, the Beastmen can gather any material they need. She adds that naturally they can handle it. They're a clan of hunters after all. Fina explains the elves' strength lies in magic tool development. The core of magic tools is the magic formulas, and their wealth of knowledge and high skill level is unique to elves. Fina promises to reproduce even the most difficult magic for this project. The group rallies together around the idea that if they combine each of their strengths, they can overcome any hardship. Princess Sistina stands on the stairs in a dynamic pose, calling out that she needs everyone's help. Below, her, Ryuna, Fina, and Ixa look up at her with supportive determination. Ixa tells Princess Sistina to give her the orders. She's ready to go, boss. Princess Sistina smiles and explains the plan. Assembly and finishing work will be done by hand. The entire group gathers around a large table, with Kaido and all the residents ready to work together. The group responds enthusiastically, ready to get started. A character calls out to the princess. Kaido asks what she plans to do about finding buyers for the magical tools they're creating. Princess Sistina acknowledges that's the most important part, which is exactly why she's leaving it to Kaido. The two share a close moment as they discuss this critical aspect of their plan. Princess Sistina asks Kaido if she can count on him. Kaido acknowledges her request. He assures her he'll make sure to gather everything by the deadline. Princess Sistina hands him a prototype device. It's just the first version, but she thinks it'll be useful. She entrusts it to him. Kaido tells her she's a big help as he prepares to leave. One of the elves watches them with a gentle smile. Kaido tells Princess Sistina he'll be away from the territory for a while, but tells her not to do anything reckless. She tells him the same thing. The two share a moment before Kaido departs on his mission to find buyers for their magical tools. The work begins across the territory. Kaido and the Beastmen head into the forest, using their strength to gather materials and transport supplies. In the workshop, the elves focus on magic tool development, studying formulas and working on the magical components with their specialized knowledge. The human villagers handle assembly and finishing work, carefully following plans and putting together the devices piece by piece. Back in the royal capital, Khalifa laughs wickedly, telling Ariel that pretty soon they'll get to see Sistina's depressed face. Ariel responds that it looks like Sistina hasn't given up yet. Another voice points out that 50 million euro in a week is absolutely impossible if she actually pulled it off. The response agrees. It would be a miracle. Ariel notices something. She spots Kaido walking through the columned hallways of the capital. His expression catches her attention. There's a determined intensity to it. Khalifa calls out to her big sister, noticing Ariel's reaction.